Good morning, everyone. This is Spinner John coming at you again. I've been asked by the family to make a video of a barrel garden that I built, and I'm building another one, but I thought we'd show you this one that's already been built last year that we've used. It was kind of a training exercise. In reality, what it is a barrel filled with different types of soil that you can use to grow all kinds of vegetables and strawberries or whatever. And you take a 55-gallon plastic drum and you cut cups in it, and I'll show you how that's done on the one I'm building now, on the new one. Anyway, this thing consists of approximately 4 different pieces. You've got the platform it sets on, and then down here at the bottom you have the drain pan, because you have to have drainage out the bottom of this thing so it'll drain real good and the water can flow out. So I've got this what it is a hot water heater pan underneath it with a drain on it, and I've got a line hooked to it that's removable, so if you want to catch some of the drippings out of it, you can use it to put back in there and put it on other plants. And in the center of this thing is a 6-inch pipe. And this pipe is drilled full of holes all the way down to the bottom, and then you fill it with compost, and then you fill it with red wiggler worms so they can eat the compost. And quite honestly, they do that very well. My wife puts in, scraps from the kitchen, potato peelings and banana peelings and stuff like that. No citrus, but anything like that. No meats or anything in there. And in the summertime, when it's warm and stuff, you can come out here and you can actually see it drop every day 6 or 8 inches. So they're eating it. And then all of that goes into the worm droppings go into your soil in your barrel, which fertilizes that, so you get a better growth out of this thing. This is just experimental about it, and we learned some things about it. We learned it when we first planted them. She planted tomatoes up in the top rows and some bigger plants up in the top rows and some kale and stuff, and we'll show you some pictures of that. But if you put the big plants up at the top and the small ones down at the bottom, then what happens is the big plants will cover up the ones on the bottom and they won't grow. So you need to put all of your tomatoes and big leaf plants down towards the bottom, and your smaller ones up towards the top so they don't cover it up. That way they all get equal sunshine and everything. And then here in the top you can grow whatever. You can grow kale, or you can grow onions. I mean, you can grow anything in the top of this, just like you would in a regular garden. So anyway, this is a barrel that we've been using for 1 year. It's set out all winter, and in a few days the strawberries have already come back, and the mint and stuff is flourishing, and she's getting ready to plant some more stuff in it here very shortly. But anyway, we're just getting going again this year, but I'll show you another barrel here in a minute in the shop that I'm building, and it gives you more of an idea the process of building this thing, which ain't too hard. It just takes a little planning and a little time. Well, we discussed the garden barrel before we came out here, and you saw what one looks like as it's a year old and had some usage. And I just want to go over the rest of it and how you do this and how many parts are there. If you'll see, this is the compost tube that goes in the inside of the barrel. It has a stopper on the end of it. This is a platform. This is a drain that goes on the platform underneath this barrel. Now this platform, I normally make them out of cedar, but this one is out of regular weather wood because of the price. That's a platform. Then we've got this drain pan. Now this drain pan is a water heater pan that you get at a hardware store. And what I have done to make the barrel stand up off of the bottom of the pan, I've got some 3/4 by 3/4 square polycarbonate rods. There's plastic rods essentially, and I cut them and glue them to the bottom of this thing so the barrel will set up off of that platform, because in the bottom of this thing, as you'll see, there's a lot of holes drilled all through here, around here in the bottom, so this thing can drain real well. If it don't drain real well, then of course it stays soggy and the plants don't do very well. Now what I have done, I have taken and drilled a hole in the bottom of this barrel right in the center, and I have attached, if you can see it in there, a 6-inch PVC cap, pipe cap in there, and it's attached to the bottom. And then I have lined the bottom and that with a ground cloth. You know, they use in gardens to keep the weeds and stuff out. It looks like this. Here's a piece of scrap. And that's in the bottom of this thing. And the reason for that is, when we get this thing filled up and you get worms in there, if those worms crawl out the bottom of this thing through those holes, drain holes, they get down here, then you'll lose your worms. They can't get back in there. So that's what we do with that. Now once this barrel is complete, we set it on top of here. This thing goes in the center, and I've made a ring to hold it in the center, which is, you can see here. And that centers this thing, so when you put the soil and stuff in, it stays right in the center. Now you don't essentially have to use this. Somebody could hold it while you fill it up and keep it in the middle, but this guarantees it'll always be in the middle, won't be hanging over to one side or the other. So anyway, that's that. Now we're going to get back around here and I'll show you. I've already made all the cups in here, all the holes, and I've drilled and cut these slots. What I do, I've got a pattern made out of cardboard that's 3.5 inches across. So on the line where all of these are lined up, I come down here and I put that in there, and I drill a hole on this side and a hole on that side all the way across. Same here. Did all of them that way. Then I come in with a saw with a fine blade, and I cut a slot all the way across here. As you'll see, there's a slot over here. Now this barrel has got, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in this row, and then in this one there'll be 3, then 4. So 6 of them rows on this barrel has 4 cups, and 6 of them have 3 cups. So that's how many you've got in the barrel. I mean, you can space them further apart. You might even try spacing them closer together, not sure. This seems to have worked very well. Now I'm going to show you how to heat and make these cups. And this takes a few minutes. Okay, this is John again. We're back getting ready to heat these slots up where we can insert this blue wine bottle in there. Now, it takes a while to do each one of these, especially with this heat gun. There's other ways to do that. You could use a weed burner, which is heat this barrel up real quick, and you can stick it in pretty fast. But the thing is, they tend to scorch the barrel and stuff. It makes the heat uneven and everything. So I use a heat gun. It takes a little bit longer. And then I use this wine bottle. Now this wine bottle, I also take and use WD-40 and put it on a rag, and I wipe it on this, on the tapered part of this bottle. Now I to make things speed up, bought a case of these empty ones from Amazon. That way I can put 12 of them at a time without stopping. Anyway, now we'll proceed onward. I'm going to show you how this is done. one thing you need to keep in mind that this cup, this bottom part of this, needs to go in and this piece needs to turn out. And so when you go to do this, make sure you check and see if it's ready to go. If it's hot enough, you'll be able to insert it. And always insert against the top part of the slot first. Otherwise, if you just shove it straight through the slot, your cup's going to look like a blowfish, or like one of these gals out there in Hollywood that Botox their lips. But if it turns out that way, then you're just going to have to keep heating it till it turns back in again, and then you can shove this in. See? Now there you have another cup in this barrel. Well, we're here today to add another phase to this, what we call the Blue Max garden barrels. You know, they're backyard planters, got a lot of plants in each one of them. Blue Max is named by my sister-in-law, which I think is a pretty good name. We like that. Anyway, been asked to show how to water them and explain about the watering. Not sure exactly what all that means, except we know here that we're having to water these barrels almost daily, normally in the afternoon. And one of the reasons is, quite honestly, is this has been the driest season, or summer, since 1897 actually. And so there's been no rain, so the barrels are getting no water, so everything they get comes out of this hose. Now, when they get dry in the afternoons, which when they normally are, we just put water in them. They don't take a whole lot of water, but we'll water them down. And as you know, there's each one of these little pockets that are there that need to be watered. So what I do, I start off by watering down the top. I spray it real lightly. And as you realize, you fill this up with water to water all these down. All that water is going down towards the drain pan on the bottom. Then I come along and I spray along here real lightly above each one of these pockets. Make sure they get water to every level that way. It takes a bit. You want to be careful so you don't destroy the plants when you're doing that. Go all the way around, do all of that. And then I wet them down too. Give them a little extra refreshment here. And they're looking good. I also normally every so many days or so I put a little water in here due to the heat in that compost tube, because if it gets too dry, then you're going to lose your worms, so we're making them stay there. Now this tube from this level right here to the top of this barrel down has holes drilled in it, so these worms eat the compost and they can crawl back and forth amongst the plants and whatever, and you have a lot of good droppings of fertilizer. I don't know how often you should water. That's going to have to be a judgment call for most anybody. I just noticed, take a look at it, and do it the same way as I'm doing it here, softly and gently, and you'll have all kinds of stuff going. Like this one here has tomatoes, it has flowers, it has cucumbers. Well, I'm not sure what all. We've got to put up the signs here. The cucumbers are beginning to crawl over across the place. We've got lettuce over here. And it just keeps going. And they really grow well in this environment. And, you know, I've been asked, and so is my wife, how do you know when you're watering right? Well, I'm pretty sure there's not a real good answer to that. Because if you ask anybody, especially an expert, the expert's going to tell you, well, you're either watering your plants too much or you're not watering them enough. So evidently there's no set rule. It's going to be judgment. But normally in a dry condition like this, you water them once a day real well. And being as this barrel is so covered with vegetation and everything, the soil inside there stays moist. So they grow real well. And we've got 2 of these barrels working right now, and they're producing very well. Each one of them has a lot of pockets in it. Each one of these pockets is growing something, some kind of vegetable or flower or something. And they do very well. And they take up very little space. And in reality, when you put the cost together of building them, it's very cheap to build these things. They don't cost that much. And you can put 2 or 3 of these. We could put probably 3 more out here. They don't necessarily have to be blue barrels. You can buy a white barrel or a blue barrel, a green barrel, and a red barrel. You can color code them if you wanted to. Anyway, that's about all I've got to say about watering these things. They're doing real well. I water them every afternoon. And if it gets real hot during the day, which it gets up here sometimes to 122 degrees, we'll come in and put a little bit more water on them. And of course, any excess water we have runs out these white tubes on the bottom into the flower bed. Now, if you're raising other plants around here, those disconnect real easily. You put your pan under there, you can catch that stuff that's coming out of there. You can put it back in here, you can put the compost bin, or you can put it back in the top here, so it'll go back through once again because it's full of all kinds of nutrients. Or you can use it on other vegetables or other flowers or something, which makes it nice. Anyway, that's all I got to say about this.